So much for being here on this absolutely beautiful, perfect weather day. We appreciate it. This is what women athletes do, by the way. They get their butts outside when it's raining and you train. So thank you. When they were asking me to do this event, the Our Bodies, Our Sports events, very excited to do it. The first thing I asked was, but can I wear athleisure? And they said, yes, you may. And I said, I am in. I am so in. So I'm very glad to be here and doing that. So I want to tell you a little bit about why I care about this issue, why I care about Title IX, why I care about the anniversary, and all of you guys and your involvement. I was a female athlete. I played in high school and college. Mediocrely. But it mattered to me. It mattered in my life, in my leadership skills, in the friendships I made. My great-grandmother was an athlete. She played in 1915 on her high school basketball team. My grandmother, her daughter, was also a basketball player on her high school team in the 1920s and 30s, late 20s. And my dad's mother as well, on the other side. She was very proud of her jump shot. So I come from a whole family of it, and now I have three daughters. So some of you moms out here, if you want to consult with me on how to survive the teen years, I would appreciate tips. But the idea that in between my mom and me, who was also an athlete, the fastest woman I ever knew, in between my mom and me, there was this revolutionary change, Title IX, that gave me all these opportunities. And I rarely thank the federal government or the Congress for doing anything right. But okay, hats off. The idea that that would now be changed, not by Congress, but just by whim to mean something entirely different, to then work against the opportunities my daughters have, is just straight crazy to me. So thank you for being here to speak out. It really takes brave women to do it. And it seems crazy that you have to be brave to do it, but you do. And the bold, amazing athletes that are here with me are gonna do that today. It is National Women's Sports Week. All of you here today and all of you tuning in online, by the way, hashtag Our Bodies, Our Sports, Independent Women's Forum and Independent Women's Network registered National Women's Sports Week to take place annually during the week of June 23rd to coincide with the anniversary of Title IX. It's a beautiful moment. And another beautiful moment is that I get to introduce one of my college sports nemesis. As a University of Georgia Bulldog on the lacrosse team, I played against Victoria. These ladies are all going to speak to you. Victoria, Adriana, and Jennifer. First up, Victoria. Have at it.
All right. Good morning. And let me just say first, she was not mediocre, all right? We played her. Georgia was one of our hardest teams. And I'm very proud that we actually were on the same all-star team together. So we played with each other at least once, maybe twice. So thank you all for being here. I'm the Vice President of Communications at Independent Women's Forum, Independent Women's Voice, and Independent Women's Network. If you're not following us, I hope you do. We're here with a number, you can see all of our sponsors on the side, a number of fantastic organizations, all fighting for the same thing. We're coming across the aisle, and this is a no-brainer. Women's sports should remain female. I am a former athlete myself. I started playing at the young age of 5, went on to and really took a liking to lacrosse, stick with that. I will say I have a daughter who just turned 7, and I was her lacrosse coach for the past 2 years. So I'm out here for her and for all the other aspiring female athletes, current and future. But I will say 50 years ago, Congress passed Title IX, as you heard Mary Catherine say, to ensure equal opportunities for both sexes. Yes, 2, man and female. Now, in the name of inclusion, women and girls are being asked to step aside, become spectators in our own sports. Ridiculous, right? What's worse is women who object are being gaslighted. They're being told to keep quiet, shut up, and threatened with retribution. Awful, right? I agree. Today, on the 50th anniversary of Title IX, we're going to hear from a number of these brave women speaking out. Women who have been robbed of championships and opportunities to compete, and women who have been told to sit down, shut up, and just deal with it. Well, let me tell you something. They're not. We've got a lot of brave women behind waiting to speak with you. And I want to make sure that all of us stand behind them and the future athletes that are going to stand out and speak up about how unfair this is. They're doing great work. We know they're going to make big headways. We're going to take back Title IX, and we're going to keep women's sports female. We are not too far. There's a big white house behind me. We know the man that's currently living in it. And we are expecting some looming regulations coming out. And we hope our elected officials, especially the person who's in the White House, hears us loud and clear today. We hope they listen to all the voices that are going to be speaking with you all today. And we hope they take action and reverse what they're about to do to keep women's sports female. And I want to introduce one of my colleagues, Jennifer Braceras. She is the director of our Independent Women's Law Center. And we are so proud to have her on stage with us today. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jennifer Braceras with Independent Women's Law Center. And even though I'm just a lawyer, I know that you do not need a degree in biology to know what a woman is. And to know that female bodies are fundamentally different than male bodies. That is why we have separate divisions for male and female sports to begin with. Unfortunately, the gender ideologues who are today inhabiting the administration want to undermine this basic premise that male and female bodies are different and therefore they compete in different divisions. They want to undermine it by allowing any male who identifies as a woman to compete on women's teams. Now, Megan Rapinoe might think that your daughter's volleyball team isn't important, but we know that it is. And I want to ask Megan Rapinoe, who fancies herself a feminist, how many girls need to lose spots on varsity volleyball teams? How many women and girls need to be injured by male body athletes on girls volleyball teams? How many girls need to lose championships or a lane in the pool or a spot on the team before Megan Rapinoe thinks that your daughter's volleyball team is important? And speaking of volleyball, my colleague Adriana McLam was a Division I volleyball player at Florida International, and she now coaches young women and girls in that sport. So she has a thing or two she might want to say to Megan as well. Adriana.
Hi, thank you so much for the introduction and the perfect segue talking about volleyball. I have to say it, volleyball, high school volleyball athletes matter. High school female athletes matter. Your daughters matter. Okay. Coming as Jennifer mentioned, I am a former Division I athlete at Florida International University. I was AAU All-American, and I've played at the international level. But now it's my job to coach junior athletes aspiring to play at the next level. My job is to get them recruited, to have them seen by colleges, and they are losing opportunities because we are not doing enough, and we're going to continue to do more to fight to keep female athletes. It's awesome to be here sharing the stage with so many female athletes, parents of female athletes, coaches, and advocates for women's sports. Today marks not only the 50th anniversary of Title IX, but the largest gathering of female athletes to protect women's sports, and we are so happy to see women from across the political aisle coming together to stand up for more female athletes to continue this sport. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. We've got a stellar lineup of speakers today. Like I said, really brave women. And first up, and look, did they stack the beginning of this with my old college rivals? Sure. Is it a test? Maybe. But I know that women from different sides of the aisle and all over the country can come together on this. And so a bulldog and a cat can come together on this. I want to bring up Riley Gaines Barker. She just graduated from the University of Kentucky, where she swam on the women's team. She's one of the strongest collegiate swimmers. In fact, she's an All-American, a 12-time All-American. This past year, she qualified for the 2022 NCAA championship. She's also swum against Leah Thomas. She and Thomas tied for 5th when they swam in the 200 free. The trophy went home with Thomas, not Gaines. Unlike many of the female swimmers in the SEC and Ivy League, Gaines had the full support of her school to speak out, and she's here to do so today. Come on up, Riley. Let's cheer for her.
And I won't back down. Hey, baby.
Thank you, guys. First, I'd like to start by thanking Independent Women's Forum for having me here and providing me with this opportunity to speak for myself, as well as all other athletes who have felt silence amidst this issue of facing unfair competition and rule makers that have completely disregarded women. Like they said, my name is Riley Gaines. I just recently graduated from the University of Kentucky, where I swam on the swim team and was able to finish my career as a 5-time SEC champion, an SEC record holder, a 12-time NCAA All-American, and a 2-time Olympic trial qualifier. Thank you. But being successful at such an elite level is far from easy and a lifelong journey. It's hard to put into words the amount of work and sacrifices it takes, but I'm going to try. I started swimming at the age of 4. My summer league coach encouraged me to start swimming year-round at 8. So this means in 2nd grade, I was swimming 5 to 6 days a week for about 2 hours every single practice, and it only got harder from there. By the time I got to middle school, I was waking up at 4:45 to swim before school because just one practice a day was not enough. I missed out on family vacations and sleepovers with friends. I trained all summer over Christmas break. I traveled during spring break to national level swim meets, causing me to miss school, proms, and obviously spring break. My days entailed practice before school, going to school, practicing again, going home to eat dinner, working on homework while I iced my injuries, and then falling asleep exhausted. But every day I would wake up and do it all again in hopes that I would become the best I could be and fulfill my dream of racing with the world's best. And eventually I got there. My sophomore year, I was having a breakout season until COVID put the world on hold and the NCAA championships were canceled, which is a meet I had worked my whole life to get to. I swam in a wetsuit in the local lake as this was the only body of water that was not shut down, and I was determined to keep after my goals and chase the chance to win at the highest level. In November of last year, near the middle of our collegiate season, it looked as if I was going to get my chance. I was ranked 4th in the nation in the 200-yard freestyle behind some amazing names I was familiar with and one that I wasn't. This was the first time that I had heard of Leah Thomas. For all I knew, this was a swimmer from the University of Pennsylvania who had come out of nowhere senior year to post the fastest time in the nation. It didn't make sense to me until I read an article clarifying Leah was formerly Will Thomas, a male who swam for 3 years on the men's team at UPenn. I was shocked, but thought to myself, there was no way this would matter come March because the NCAA would not allow Thomas to compete with us. I was proven very wrong 3 weeks before our NCAA championships were meant to start when the NCAA announced Thomas would be allowed to compete with the women. I got to personally witness and feel the effect this competition had on myself and all the other female athletes at the meet. I know I can't speak for everyone on that pool deck, but I can attest to the number of tears shed by the 9th and 17th place finishers, the extreme discomfort in the locker room, the talk of anger and frustration from the girls who had worked so hard and sacrificed so much to get to this moment. Who took into account our feelings? Nobody did. Who took any sort of accountability since this? No one has. It's disheartening to know our voices have no weight with an organization we have done so much for, an organization we've essentially dedicated our whole lives to. On March 19th, Thomas and I raced and touched at the exact same time down to the 100th, which is pretty rare in swimming. Having only one 5th place trophy, the NCAA handed it to Thomas and told me mine would eventually come in the mail, but for photo purposes, Thomas needed the trophy. So not only were we forced to compete against men, we were also put completely on the back burner and sidelined when faced with a difficult situation the NCAA had not been prepared for. It's crucial for the NCAA to open their eyes and recognize the irrefutable damage that is being done to women's sports and everything Title IX has stood for. There's no equity, fairness, sportsmanship, or opportunity for women to succeed at an elite level without sex-based categories. But it's not just the NCAA. It's other large governing bodies as well, like USA Swimming or the International Olympic Committee, and so many more organizations across all sports with the power to make and enforce these rules that are at fault for not protecting us. Until accountability is taken and rules are in place to protect biological females, the integrity of women's sports is lost. Women around the country are told to be silent. We're told to just let the conversation die down and to not step on any toes or ruffle any feathers. But we cannot continue to ignore the biological and anatomical differences between men and female that are blatantly obvious and scientifically proven. If change is not made, it's only the beginning of a slippery slope. It's only a matter of time until one transgender athlete winning a national title in a women's sport turns into 3, and then 10, and so on. Allowing male athletes to switch teams when they feel necessary is not only an infringement on female athletes, but also a mockery of Title IX. I will continue speaking out and standing up for myself, others who are afraid to use their voice, past female athletes who have fought so hard to get equal opportunities in sports, and for future female athletes who will lose athletic opportunities if this madness continues. Thank you.
I'm a badass woman. What's wrong with that? Can't hold me back. Yeah, I'm a badass.
All right, let's hear it for Riley Gaines one more time. That's one badass woman. I tell you what, you guys are loud, and I bet you're a lot louder, these people who don't believe in women, who aren't pro-women. Let me hear you. When I say our bodies, you say our sports, our bodies, our bodies, our bodies, our bodies. Thank you so much louder, and I appreciate that, because these people out here are not pro-woman. And the whole point is, if we're not pro-woman, women's athletics is going to get destroyed, and we're not going to have it. And that's why we're here. We didn't spend 50 years of making progress just to make regressive, go backwards. We're not doing it, and neither is Riley Gaines. Let me tell you, Riley, I know you can hear me back there. Keep using that voice. Keep championing future swimmers across the country. And speaking of badass women, our next speaker has been competing in the male-dominated sport of skateboarding. Skateboarding. I have never been on a skateboard, but this woman is amazing. She has been doing it for many years, and I'll tell you, back in December at the Red Bull Cornerstone contest, she placed second behind a male competitor in the women's division. I will tell you, she's not the only female that was sidelined at that competition. When she reached out to Red Bull, guess what? She wanted to voice her concerns over the fairness factor. She was ignored. Red Bull never got back to her. So you know what she's doing? She's using her voice elsewhere. She's speaking up publicly, and she's making it well known that that male competitor in the women's division that beat her and other women there at the skateboarding contest in December, that it's not fair. So I want you guys to put a big warm welcome for skateboarder Taylor Silverman.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here today. My name is Taylor Silverman. I've been skateboarding for 11 years. And for the past several years, I've competed at an amateur level in skateboarding contests. I'm here today to share my experience as a female athlete who has missed out on opportunities when competing with transgender identifying male athletes in women's divisions in skateboarding and faced being ignored by contest organizers when raising concerns about the undoubtable unfairness of this. My story is not unique. Many female athletes have been negatively impacted in several different sports. Last December, I traveled to Lincoln, Nebraska to compete in the finals of a Red Bull event, Red Bull Cornerstone. I was invited after winning a qualifier in November in my home state of Michigan. In Lincoln, I participated in one more qualifier the day before the finals and placed first again. I received $500 for first place at each qualifier, $1,000 in total. And at this point, I was completely unaware that a male competitor had participated in, placed first, and also collected $1,000 in prize money at 2 separate qualifiers in different states. The day of the finals, the male competitor, unsurprisingly, took first place and received $3,000 along with $1,000 for best trick. With the $1,000 from qualifiers, this totaled to $5,000 of the prize money meant for female athletes. For second place, I received $1,750. I earned $1,000 in qualifiers, so this totaled to $2,750. Third place was paid $750, $1,000 less than what would have been received for a second place prize. Someone was completely bumped off the podium, and the woman who I think would have won $1,000 for best trick also took nothing. Though I had heard of this happening in other sports, and this actually being the third time that I competed with males in women's division, one other time I had also placed second, it was still shocking. During the event, I was too uncomfortable to speak up, and the first 2 times I experienced this, along with each time I heard about it happening in other sports, I just assumed that everyone would understand how clearly unfair it was, and it eventually would discontinue. But after Red Bull Cornerstone, the guilt I felt for not speaking up grew, and the fear I had of potentially having to explain this to my own daughters one day, if I'm lucky enough to have a family of my own in the future, outweighed the fear of any potential negative consequences I knew I might face for telling the truth. I got more. I'm not done. I had seen other women speaking out, so I reached out to the contest organizer at Red Bull by email to explain what happened and my concerns about it being unfair to female athletes. But my email to Red Bull was completely ignored. So I posted to social media, to my Instagram page, the story of what had happened, along with the ignored email. The post immediately went viral. I received tens of thousands of supportive messages from athletes, parents, and even transgender people who recognized the unfairness and wanted me to know that these athletes were not an accurate representation of most of their community. I also received many unsupportive messages, from name calling to death threats and everything in between. And because I happen to be Jewish, I have been targeted with a massive amount of anti-Semitism online. I had no idea what would happen when I spoke up for myself. I simply wanted to do the right thing. I didn't know my story would become international news or that I'd be speaking here today, but I do know how painful it is to go through this, and it's important to me that it doesn't happen to more female athletes in any sports on any level. We deserve fairness in sports, and we're currently losing out on opportunities, titles, paychecks, scholarships, and more, while being made to feel like we can't receive what we've earned for our hard work, and being made to feel unimportant in a space that was created for us. I believe that raising awareness is the first step to creating change, and my story and the stories of all the incredibly brave athletes here today need to be heard. We need to keep women's sports female so we can keep women's sports fair. Thank you.
This is gonna be the best day of my life.
So, what's happening to athletes like Riley and Taylor is exactly what we knew what would happen when the woke ideologues started trying to redefine the word sex to mean gender. Independent Women's Forum and Independent Women's Law Center warned the Supreme Court about this in a brief, that the way they interpreted the word sex in one context would inevitably have repercussions in the sporting world. And today we see that that's true. Here to talk about the way in which the current administration is twisting Title IX to harm women is former Education Department official and current Heritage Foundation Senior Legal Fellow, Sarah Parshall Perry.
Good morning. I am so excited to be out here with you guys today. I am here as a former Department of Ed official and a mother. Today we celebrate a milestone in women's equality and achievement, the law that gave us the opportunity to achieve in classrooms, compete on athletic fields, and succeed in boardrooms. 94% of female executives have played competitive sports. So today, the Biden administration is content to sacrifice our hard-fought gains on the altar of his agenda. Title IX changed our lives and the lives of our daughters, but the gender ideologues are attempting to force an interpretation of this longstanding law unsupported by the text, history, structure, or plain language of this monumental act. In 1972, House and Senate deliberations gave rise to 250 versions of education bills before Title IX was ultimately born. Congress has the opportunity and had for 50 years the opportunity to include gender identity in the definition of sex and chose not to. The Supreme Court's decision upon which the Biden administration relies, Bostock versus Clayton County, was limited to a different law with a narrow scope. The court wrote they were not considering other laws like Title IX in their ruling. The administration efforts are wholly at odds with what Congress sought to achieve after a year of debate and tireless work on the part of the women's liberation movement. We will not give up. Biden's illegal alteration of the law guaranteeing educational equality for us eviscerates everything our mothers and grandmothers worked to achieve. It perpetuates the same type of discrimination it claims to want to eliminate by pitting males against females yet again. It's a solution in search of a problem. For us, for our daughters, and for the sake of the law, we will not let that stand.
This time, baby, I'll be
As female athletes, we have dealt with hecklers our whole career. We don't let them stop us from competing, and we will not let them stop us today from speaking out. Playing a Division I sport takes grit. You're training early, working out late, and pushing yourself no matter how hard you train. No matter what, the odds are put against you as a female athlete, but you work hard to overcome. Even the best athletes will usually lose if they're head-to-head competitions against male athletes. Did you know that Serena and Venus Williams both lost to the 203rd ranked male tennis player? And in 2017, men and boys around the world outperformed one of the world's fastest runners. I have the great honor of introducing an athlete today who herself has competed against a male athlete and lost. Madison DeBose.
But I ain't worried about it right now. Keeping dreams alive. 1999 heroes. I ain't worried about it.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. My name is Madison DeBose, and I have been running since the age of 5. I ran my first race when I was 5 and have been running ever since. I grew up in a family of athletes. My mom and dad were All-American and national champions. So growing up in this environment, they instilled in me the importance of hard work, dedication, and fairness. When I found out that I was receiving a scholarship to run at Southern Utah University, I was so excited. My dreams were finally coming true. My hard work was paying off. A few months later, I packed up my car, drove across the country, and got to start this new adventure. My freshman year went as you would expect a freshman year to go. I was just trying to figure it out. I quickly learned that to be competitive at this level, you had to learn to balance your academics and athletics. This meant early mornings, running twice a day, running 60 plus miles a week, lifting twice a week, staying on top of recovery, fueling your body properly, all while getting your schoolwork done. What I wasn't expecting was on the first day of my freshman year at practice, our coach told us that we would be racing a biological male. I remember looking around at my teammates' faces and the complete defeat across everyone's face. We felt as if we were going into a losing race and a losing season. No matter how hard we trained and that we'd be in premier shape, we could face a male runner and have a fair chance of winning. Indoor season was going great. I was running PRs, running faster than I ever had before, and I earned a spot at our conference championship. I was so excited to have the privilege as a freshman to be racing on a relay at our conference championship. My coach had signed me up for the distance medley relay. I ran over, looked at the heat sheets just to see what was going on. I was so excited, and my heart sank when I realized that I would be racing a biological male. And somehow the feeling of dread was worse when I actually saw the male athlete and realized that this was actually going to happen. I remember walking into that arena, and the discussion from not just athletes but also spectators was about what was about to unfold in front of us and the unfairness that was surrounding it. It was hard to even focus on the race that was ahead of us because the discussion was just about how unfair it was about to be. I ran the first leg of the race, and I still remember how fast that race went out. Little freshman me got nervous, but we dug down, and I ran with everything that I had in me. And I handed off that baton, and I stumbled onto the infield. On the infield, I started screaming and cheering for my other Southern Utah teammates. And that's when I heard something that filled me with first confusion, then anger, and then complete and total sadness. The words, "slow down." In my 14 years of running, I have never heard an athlete tell a coach to slow down. My heart sank. I looked around to see if other athletes had also saw this instruction coming from the coach, and sure enough, there was confusion, anger, and sadness amongst many other athletes' face. And yes, you heard that right. The biological male runner competing in the women's section was told to slow down at a conference championship. This athlete was in 6th place, moved up to 3rd, was then told to slow down, and got 2nd. I heard someone say the other day that we must not only be the role models for this generation, but the heroes for the generations to come. Like the young athletes and future female athletes, we too were once standing in their shoes with our own big dreams and aspirations. So I'm using my voice here today in hopes that future female athletes don't have to. And I hope that they don't have to face a male athlete like I did. And I also would like to add that this event occurred my freshman year, which was in 2020. So that was 2 years ago, and we just now are getting the chance to speak out about this. This has been going on for longer than people realize, and it's time that me and these girls standing back here uses our voice together to create fairness in women's sports. And I pray for fairness, and I pray for equal opportunity. Thank you.
Oh, you guys. Somebody went on a special trip to the dollar store to get whistles to shut me up. But I might have mentioned I have 3 daughters, and I work in cable news, and I have never once shut up yet. But this is what folks do when they can't actually make the argument. And they don't want to hear women's stories. Because a lot of people are very uncomfortable when women disagree with them. So get ready to be uncomfortable all damn day. All right, how great are these speakers and athletes? We have up next Team USA Masters track athlete who competed against a biological male in Spain. Her own daughter lost to a male in her first high school track meet. Please welcome Cynthia Monteleone, all the way from Hawaii.
Aloha. I flew in from Maui yesterday, but don't worry, I've had plenty of coffee. I got this. So I don't have a prepared speech today. I'm just going to be speaking from the heart. I'm extremely grateful to be here and to have this opportunity. I want to thank Independent Women's Forum for bringing us all together. And I'm actually supposed to be on my way to my world championship meet in Finland. However, I am boycotting the meet because they're allowing the same male-bodied athlete to compete that I raced against a couple of years ago. So, while we should all have the choice whether or not we want to compete, I am choosing to not place value in a medal in an unfair competition. What kind of value does that medal hold anyway if the playing field is not fair? So instead, I'm here with all of you beautiful people and standing up for not just myself, but the future generations of girls. My daughter is 17, and she also had to race a biological male athlete in her very first high school race in 9th grade. Now, I tell her I believe she was the winner of that race, and I want to empower the young girls to keep speaking up and to speak up for our right to a fair playing field. The current administration is putting a nail in the coffin of Title IX, and we have to stand up against this. The founder of Title IX, Patsy Mink, was from Maui, so I celebrate Title IX today and its original intentions, which is sex-based, not gender identity-based. We would like, of course, we would like everybody to have the chance to do sports, but we have to protect the integrity of the fair playing field. So I stand before you today to encourage you to keep speaking up, because I was told after I began to raise questions to keep my mouth shut for my own safety. But however, as you can see, I'm not keeping my mouth shut. I'm speaking louder than ever. Because it's these voices and these stories that you're hearing today that are going to make a difference. I am also a metabolic practitioner. My job is to help Olympians and other athletes optimize their physical performance and their health through things like what food they eat, what supplements they take. So I know my way around science, and science and common sense tells us that even after gender reassignment and hormone therapy, male-bodied athletes still have an advantage over female athletes. This is not just common sense, but the science tells us so. I think that FINA has taken a step in the right direction in swimming to create another category. I'm a bit concerned about the language saying after transition and puberty, because we have to be careful not to push puberty blockers. But it is a step in the right direction, and I hope that the World Masters Association and the World Athletics Committee takes a cue from swimming and starts to make policies that are inclusive to our female athletes, because right now they're being excluded, and we cannot allow that. So I just want to say mahalo, thank you all for being here in support of this today. And aloha, I send love and goodness to all of you, and let's just keep speaking up and standing strong.
So you know what those whistles are for out there? They're for our next guest and our next speaker. But let me hear you get those clappers out for me. And you guys know this by now, right? Our bodies. Our bodies. Our bodies. Our bodies. All right. All right. You know what? Coaching a team, I coach, right? I use a whistle a lot. Our next guest is no stranger to coaching either. Coaching a team is one of the most demanding and rewarding jobs. Along the way, you're going to experience a wide range of emotions. Beyond the highs and lows of the game to game and season to season, you have the opportunity to play and an influential role on those players, both the development, athletically, on and off the field. Next up is a dynamic woman. She's a former Idaho State athlete, had a 15-year career as an NCAA Division I women's basketball coach. She ended up serving in the Idaho House of Representatives, representing the 33rd District, and she was the original sponsor of the Fairness in Women's Sports Act, the first of its kind legislation designed to protect opportunities for women in girls' sports. Since passing this in Idaho, she's testified in many other states that have brought similar bills to the floor. Give it up for a true trailblazer, representative, and coach, Barbara Ehart.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you guys, I love it. Hey, I am so excited to be here today. It is so awesome to have a crowd here supporting our girls and women in sports. You guys have no idea what it was like. I was one of those people born in the 60s. Growing up in the 70s, we didn't have opportunities. I am telling you, people would ask me growing up, what do you want to be when you grew up? And pretty much I could be a mom, I could be a secretary, or I could be a school teacher. And you know what I told them? I said, I want to play sports. And they told me that's not what girls do. Oh, exactly. And so I kept my dreams alive. And little did I know, as an 8-year-old kid, 8 years old in 1972, June 23rd, 50 years ago, when Title IX was passed, it changed my life. It changed my life, people. I kept my dreams alive. I was able to play junior high basketball, high school basketball, went on to play college basketball on a scholarship. On a scholarship. And from there, I was able to embark on a 15-year Division I women's coaching career. Yes. At 4 fantastic institutions. But here's the thing. Eventually, unless you're Pat Summitt or Gino Auriemma, it's like with coaches, you're either being hired or fired. And my time came and I decided to go back to Idaho. And what did I do? I became a politician. You know, sports, politician, I don't know. But let me just tell you, in 2018, like you, I was watching with horror what was happening in Connecticut. I was watching 2 biological males take the spots of these gals that are here today. You're going to get to hear from them. Take their spots on the podium, displace them, discourage them, demean them, and tell them they weren't woman enough. And these gals were my inspiration as I'm walking around my neighborhood thinking, somebody should do something about it. Why doesn't somebody do something? And it occurred to me, I'm a representative, I'm a former athlete, I'm a former coach, I'm a lawmaker. I should do something. Yes. And if you would, you're going to hear from him in just a minute, but I want to bring our 3 Connecticut athletes up. I want you to meet Alana, Selena, and Chelsea. Come on up, you guys. Come on up. Come on. These are the gals that were being told that they weren't good enough to be in women's and girls sports, that the guys that were better because they were guys. And kudos to them because they stayed in it. And then we were able to pass this legislation in 2020, and I got to introduce you to 2 more people in the state of Idaho. Let me have you come out, Maddie and Katie. Then I had 2 gals in the state of Idaho join with us in an intervener lawsuit. These 2 gals had the same kind of courage. Yep, you're going to hear from them in just a bit. The same kind of courage to step up, stand up, and they deserve all of your credit. These guys were courageous. They set the stage, and I want you to give them a huge round of applause. Yeah. And And before I step off the stage, we need a selfie. Come here, guys. Everybody, come here. Come on. Everybody, come here. Yeah, there you go. You guys, thank you so much. Thanks for being here. Thanks for standing up. Let's keep this going. It's passed in 18 states. We only have 28 more to go. Okay, stay the course. Good job. Thank you.
I'm a bitch, I'm a lover, I'm a child, I'm a mother, I'm a sinner, I'm a saint. I do not feel ashamed.
Hey everyone, our next guest on stage is brilliant and feisty. She's a tremendous advocate for women and girls and knows as much about Title IX as anyone I know. A lawyer and a former Department of Education official, she helped to craft the Title IX regulations that President Biden just repealed today. We need to take back Title IX, and there is no one better to explain why than Candace Jackson.
Thank you. I am so proud to be here today alongside so many women who care about the most important women's rights legislation in education of the last half century. It's not that Title IX doesn't also stand for equal opportunities for boys. Of course it does. But let's be real. Boys generally enjoy the default position of having no barriers to entry or access or participation to the full range of educational benefits and activities based on being boys. Historically, it's been girls and women who have faced exclusion and negative treatment due to being girls and women. This general rule of no longer treating girls negatively compared to boys because of Title IX is the heart of that civil rights law. At the same time, the soul of Title IX has always been its common sense statutory and regulatory recognition of the many circumstances where, in order to have genuine opportunities, girls and women need our own spaces and activities. Title IX has always allowed schools to track and record a student's factual sex and to provide some activities separately based on sex, sometimes to protect physical and sexual safety, like different locker rooms and bathrooms, sometimes to protect dignity and privacy, like separate human sexuality classes, and sometimes for equal opportunities to succeed and achieve, like with sports. Thanks to Title IX, generations of girls have grown up taking equal educational opportunities for granted. And you know what? They deserve to take it for granted. Girls deserve to take equality for granted, to not have to give a second thought to whether they'll be allowed to study certain subjects or succeed in certain extracurricular activities just because they're girls. But what happens when we stop recognizing that girls and boys are, well, not literally the same when it comes to bodies, physicality, sex drive, reproductive role, that there are physical and biological immutable differences between the two sexes that cannot be wished away or legislated away? Women have not been kept out of educational pursuits and public life because we behave or dress in a womanly way. We have historically had educational and social doors closed to us, not because we adopt feminine personalities or because we identify as women, but because we were born members of the female sex, period. When we accept the fantastical notion that being a boy or a girl is a matter of choice, of clothing, of haircuts, of feeling girly or boyish, we drive the discrimination school bus right off the road. If we no longer share the common jumping off point of knowing who are the girls and who are the boys, then overnight Title IX goes from being a powerful tool to level the playing field for girls to being a weapon that actively rips away equal opportunities, safety, and dignity for girls. If we cannot track sex, we cannot keep sexism in our rearview mirror, and none of our daughters deserve that. Thank you.
All right. Who's a woman out here? I am a woman. Let me hear it. All right. I see a lot of good signs out there. I've got our bodies, our sports, keep women sports female. I've got XY does not equal XX. We know there are two sexes. And I will tell you, the next people coming up on stage are female, and they are bold, and they are brave, and they are amazing at what they're doing. All right. So when a woman takes legal action to stand up for her rights, several of these young women have been sidelined that you're going to hear from next. And they're speaking up. They've been sidelined by male athletes identifying as female and playing in their women's divisions. Our next speaker represents some of these athletes in both the courts and in the court of public opinion. Please welcome Christiana Kiefer from Alliance Defending Freedom.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Look, Title IX has promised women and girls so much. A fair chance to compete, opportunities to excel at college, and skills that apply to all areas of life. But all of this is being threatened by the unscientific idea that a man can be a woman. Women's sports have been protected for 50 years in our country because we recognize, both as a matter of science and common sense, that males have inherent physical advantages that give them, that make competition between women and men unfair and even unsafe. In fact, it's such a great advantage that in 1 year alone, 275 males beat the best, lifetime best of world championship sprinter Allison Felix. Without a protected women's category, the history books would not even record her name. Yet, here we are on the 50th anniversary of Title IX, again, fighting for the right of women and girls to have their place in sports. I am so proud to be here today with Selena, Chelsea, and Alana, who boldly challenged an unfair Connecticut policy that allowed men to dominate their sports and take away their opportunities from them. And I'm proud to be here today with Madison, Mary Kate, and Lainey, who have stood up to defend their women's Save Women's Sports laws against attacks from the ACLU. Women and girls are being told that their achievements and their losses don't matter, that their place on the podium, spot on the field, or championship titles can be snatched away by a biological male simply because he identifies as female. It only takes one man to take away the top spot, 3 to eliminate women from their podium altogether. This is wrong, and it must be stopped. On the 50th anniversary of Title IX, we must do more than celebrate. We must act. If we want a future where female athletes can continue to showcase their talents, be on the podium, win that top spot and those scholarship opportunities, we must protect the integrity of women's sports. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chelsea Mitchell.
Hey guys, my name is Chelsea Mitchell and I'm a former high school track and field athlete from Canton High School, and I was one of the fastest girls in Connecticut. When I lined up in my starting blocks, I should have known that I had a shot at first place. Unfortunately, I was forced to compete against male athletes in the girls category for all 4 years of my high school career. As a result of a state policy that let them compete in girls' sports, I lost 4 state championships and 2 All-New England awards. While this issue is very personal for me, it's not just about me. It's about every young woman who dreams of competing. We should have the opportunity to excel and to chase our dreams. And this can only happen if we can compete on a level playing field. We should be here celebrating 50 years of Title IX protections for women and girls in sports. Instead, we're here because we don't know if those protections will last another 50 years. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Christy Mitchell, Chelsea Mitchell's mother.
Hello, my name is Christy Mitchell and I'm Chelsea's mom. Most parents know what it's like to walk alongside a child who is pursuing a dream, whether that means attending music recitals, school plays, or athletic events. I was there with Chelsea to cheer her across the finish line and celebrate her victories. And I was there to support her when she lost. But when she was unfairly displaced by male athletes on the track, it was hard to find the right words to comfort her when it felt so helpless. We learned we weren't alone. There were other girls and parents facing this same situation, and all of our concerns fell on deaf ears. It's good to know we're not alone in this fight. But it shouldn't have to be this way. My hope is that my daughters won't have to explain to their daughters why winning is impossible. Thank you.
You guys, our buddies are gone. Honestly, it felt a little short. That's what she said. Are they gonna get mad at me for making dirty jokes? Listen, thank you so much, Chelsea, for your story. The message that she received was, look, at your best, you're not gonna be enough. And that is not a message that I accept for the next generation of women. This next athlete missed qualifying for the New England track and field regionals by 2 spots in her top event. The biological male who won her race set a girls' state record and went on to win the New England titles in the 55-meter dash and the 300-meter dash. Please help me welcome Selena Soul, followed by Alana Smith. They both competed and lost to male runners. Both ladies are taking a stand against policies that allow men to compete in women's sports. Come on up, ladies.
Hi, my name is Selena Soul, and I'm a former track and field athlete from Connecticut. Throughout all 4 years of high school, I was forced to compete against biological males. Sports have been a big part of my life since I was 3 years old. When I won meets, I knew my hard work paid off. But when I lost, I drove myself to train harder and to be better. However, going up against biological male athletes who have a natural advantage over us was extremely demoralizing to not only me, my teammates, but all girls in Connecticut and New England. I lost the opportunity to advance to a regional meet and instead was forced onto the sideline in one of my events while I was still there competing in others. We female athletes work incredibly hard to shave fractions of a second off of our times to win, not to place third place and beyond. That's why I'm here today to stand up for all the young girls that Title IX protects and ensure that no one will have to experience the pain and heartbreak that I felt in high school.
Hi, my name is Alana Smith, and I'm a former high school track athlete for Danbury High School in Connecticut. Being an athlete is in my genes. My dad, Lee Smith, is an MLB Hall of Fame pitcher. My mom, Cheryl, was a high school track athlete and still runs today. Running with my mom when I was younger taught me how to prepare, train, and focus. With her encouragement, I focused on short distance running, where I excelled in middle school, becoming a three-peat 100-meter Connecticut state champion. Everything changed when I got to high school, where I knew I'd be running against a male athlete. I was defeated before stepping onto the track. No girl should experience this kind of unfair defeat, both physically and mentally. I'm here today to add to the voices of women standing up for a level playing field for girls.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Alana Smith's mother, Cheryl Radachowski.
Hello, my name is Cheryl Radachowski, and I'm Alana's mom. Like Alana said, sports are very much a part of our family. As a former track athlete, I know that mere fractions of a second matter in a race. I know how important placement is. Running alongside Alana, I got to learn her strengths, her weaknesses, and what motivates her to sprint towards the finish line. There's nothing quite like the feeling of being a part of your daughter's success. There's also nothing like having a front row seat to your daughter suffering an unfair and crushing defeat. As someone who personally benefited from Title IX, if I had faced the same situation my daughter faced in high school, I don't honestly know if I would have encouraged Alana to be the athlete she is today. No mother should have to face that challenge with her daughter. We need to keep Title IX as it is for the girls. Thank you.
So these young women who are speaking out are extremely brave, but we know they're not the only athletes that have had to face this competition. If you've faced a male athlete in a women's division, we want to hear from you. Share your story at iwf.org/female athlete stories. Next, let's put our hands together for two Idaho State NCAA athletes speaking up for fairness and defending Idaho's Fairness in Women's Sports Act. Welcome Mary Marshall, followed by Madison Kenyon.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Stand a little taller. Doesn't mean I'm lonely when I'm alone.
Hey guys, we are so happy to be here. I'm Mary Marshall, and I'm a competitive track athlete at Idaho State University. Sports have taught me so much: how to endure and persevere, how to work with a team, and how to be a gracious competitor. But it's hard to keep my chin up when I lose to a male athlete, which has happened twice. When I lose to another woman, I assume that she trains harder than I do, and it drives me to work harder. But losing to a male feels completely different. It makes me think that no matter how hard I try, my hard work and effort won't matter. I want girls to have the same opportunity to learn the same lessons that I've learned through sports, but they can't learn those lessons if they believe they'll never be good enough. Keeping Title IX protections is important for future generations and past generations.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Madison Kenyon, and I am a track and cross country runner at Idaho State University. My freshman year, I competed against a male athlete who had times on the males team that were faster than the women's collegiate national record. I raced against this athlete 5 times, and each time I was pushed down to a lower placement than what I deserved. As a nursing major, I know how important biological differences are. The state of Idaho passed a law recognizing that the biological differences between men and women are very important in sports. But sadly, activists are trying to stop that law from protecting women's sports. Without Title IX, I would not be here today. Title IX opened a door for me to get an athletic scholarship, which made it possible for me to not only get an education, but pave a path to a future career. That's why I joined a lawsuit to save women's sports in Idaho. And that's why I'm here, to encourage girls everywhere to stand up and demand fair treatment under Title IX.
Down a dream that never would come to me. Working on a mystery.
Along with several other states, West Virginia is taking a stand to make sure women and girls have a level playing field. Our next athlete, Lainey Armistead, played soccer, and she says it's more than just a game to her. She says it's a passion and a life-defining pursuit. Please welcome Lainey.
This is my fight song. Take back my life song. Prove I'm alright song.
Hi guys, I'm really happy to be here today. My name is Lainey Armistead, and I'm a former left back for the West Virginia State University soccer team. My dad was a soccer coach, and growing up, I got to play against my brothers and pick up games with the boys' soccer teams. It was a lot of fun, but I knew when they were holding back because they were bigger, faster, and stronger than me. In a contact sport like soccer, it doesn't take much imagination to see how dangerous it is for male athletes to compete against women in a competitive environment. Seeing the courage of the other girls here today and the women gave me the strength to join a lawsuit to protect West Virginia's law that protects women and girls. I was the team captain for my team, which meant I had my teammates' backs. I'm here with a simple message for female athletes protected by Title IX. I've got your back too. Thank you.
Take it easy, baby. Make it last all night. She was an American girl.
Hello again. How's everybody feeling? Sounds good. I want to point you to a resource real quick that's really important. It's at iwf.org. It's called the Competition Report. It came out in 2021, and it goes into all the actual facts about the gaps between male and female athletic performance, because as much as I would like to tell my husband I can beat him in a weightlifting competition, I cannot. And we need to wrestle with that, and we need to be armed with the facts, like that females and males accelerate 20% faster than females, that they have more muscle mass and larger hearts and larger lungs. These are things that people want to ignore. Don't ignore them. From IWF, we have some of our speakers that get this and are fighting for fairness. Coming up, President of the Independent Women's Forum, Carrie Lucas. Followed by Nicole Hudgens, Head of Government Affairs at Family Policy Alliance. Come on up, ladies.
Wow, what a crowd. I'm so proud to be here and appreciate everybody for coming out. You know, we've been hearing a lot about an important question. What is a woman? Now, I feel like that's become a bit of a punchline, but everyone here knows that this is no joke. The word woman is mentioned hundreds of times in our legal code. And if we can't define the term woman, then we can't stand up for women's rights. And the legal protections that exist for women are suddenly meaningless. So Independent Women's Forum and Independent Women's Voice teamed up with wonderful groups on both the left and the right to come up with something called the Women's Bill of Rights. The Women's Bill of Rights defines these sex-based terms like women, men, male, female, and shows that they're rooted in biology. And it also codifies the idea that there are times, athletics being one of those times, when we have to have single-sex programs. They are not only legal, they are necessary. So everyone here in this crowd and everyone listening today, please make sure to sign. You need to sign up and show your support. It's womensbillofrights.com. This language was already used for the basis of a resolution just down the street there in Congress. It's been introduced as a House resolution and a Senate resolution, but we need this to happen in every single state. We need everybody to get involved so that women are not erased from our laws and that our daughters, I have my 3 daughters are standing here in this crowd, our daughters, and I'm just as proud of my 2 sons who are also here, and they are standing up, and they know they're standing up for women too. We need to make sure that women are not erased in our laws and that our daughters and generations of girls to come will have the opportunity and respect that we deserve. So thank you all for coming here today. I'm excited.
Hello, real America. How are you doing? My name is Nicole Hudgens, and I direct government affairs for Family Policy Alliance. We're a national organization representing hundreds of thousands of Americans who believe in standing and saving girls' sports. We also work with nearly 40 family policy councils across the nation, men and women who are boots on the ground in their states, who are working to advance family values and save girls' sports, as well as amazing state legislators across the country who are true champions, especially on this issue. And today, on the 50th anniversary of Title IX, we're celebrating what women have done over the past 50 years. But we are also here because women's sports and their opportunities are under attack. Just today, the Biden administration announced that they're going to try to redefine Title IX and take away opportunities from women and girls. But the Biden administration is out of touch with real America. And we must save girls' sports. And real America is saving girls' sports. As you'll see in 2020, you've already heard from the amazing Representative Barbara E. Hart, who introduced the Fairness in Women's Sports Act in 2020. Then in 2021, 9 states passed Save Girls Sports. And this year, that number doubled. And there are 18 states that have passed Save Girls Sports laws. Arizona, Arkansas, Florida, Idaho, Indiana, Iowa, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Montana, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, and West Virginia. This is huge. And not only that, 3 of those state legislatures, Indiana, Kentucky, and Utah, didn't just pass the law. Their governor tried to veto the bill, and then the state legislatures were able to override those vetoes. And today I have the honor of having my mom here with me in the crowd. And she has fought so hard for my future and for my opportunities. And that's why I'm here today, because I believe in standing for the next generation of America's women. And so we call on every American to join us today to save girls' sports. We call on every American to oppose the Biden rules that will attempt to redefine Title IX. And we call on every American to stand for the future of our girls. Their futures will not be taken away, not on our watch. Thank you.
I am honored to bring up our next speaker. She's a former U.S. representative from Hawaii's 2nd Congressional District and a former 2020 Democratic presidential candidate. She was an original co-sponsor of the Protect Women's Sports Act. She's a proud American serving in the U.S. Army Reserves as a lieutenant colonel and a vocal supporter of leveling the playing field for women and girls in sports. She's a supporter of Independent Women's Forum, Women's Bill of Rights. Let's hear it for none other than Tulsi Gabbard. Come on up.
You're simply the best. Better than all the rest.
Thank you so much. It's so good to be here with all of you as we celebrate this amazing 50th anniversary of Title IX. And as we gather here in celebration of the incredible progress that's been made over decades, I can't help but think of the many women who fought so hard to enact this historic legislation. I also can't help but wonder what they would think about the fact that we would have to gather on a day like this and what now is seen as an expression of courage to say the thing that a lot of these noisemakers and protesters don't want others to hear, which is, wait for it, there is such a thing as a woman. We do exist. It is the height of hypocrisy that as we stand here today, there are those who claim to be feminists, who claim to be champions for women's rights, who are at the very same time simultaneously denying the fact that we exist, denying the fact that there is a woman that is biologically distinct from a man. The Biden administration's actions today are seeking to erase the entire female sex and reject the objective reality that there are biological and physiological differences between men and women. This is the height of disrespect, offense, and what at its core is a hatred for women. Because if you loved women, if you supported us, then you would take a stand for our women and girls. This point about the rejection of the objective reality is important. If a man can become a woman simply by declaring it to be so, then there is nothing that is real. There is nothing that is true. Then anything can go. We've seen 50 years of progress since Title IX, but the future of Title IX, the opportunities that have come about because of it, are at peril because of the actions and policies coming from the Biden administration and Congress's failure to act thus far to protect women and girls in sports. So I am so proud to stand with these incredible athletes who are here today, bringing voice to so many who are unable to exercise their own voice, and bringing voice to kids like my goddaughter, Liberty. She is 2 years old and she is a ball of fire. I can't wait to see what she does. We are gathering here today for kids like my friend's daughters, Lara, Ivy, and Lynette, who are competitive wrestlers in Oklahoma, and they are kicking ass every day. It is for them that we take a stand for the truth. It is for them that we take a stand together as Americans, express this call to action to everyone across the country to demand that Congress and the president take immediate action to uphold the original intent of Title IX and protect the lives, futures, and well-being of women everywhere. Thank you for your courage in standing here today. Let's continue to fight for our future. Thank you. Aloha.
Yeah. It's been a ride. I guess I had to go to that place to get to this one.
Thank you to Tulsi Gabbard for being here. You know, this issue isn't a Republican issue and it isn't a Democratic issue. This is an equality issue. Our next speaker also comes from the leftward side of the political aisle. Kara Dansky is a radical feminist lawyer and president of the Women's Declaration International USA chapter. She's the author of The Abolition of Sex, a book I urge you all to buy. It's a quick, easy read that summarizes exactly everything that's going on today. And she's a wonderful speaker. Please help me in giving a warm welcome to Kara Dansky.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. It's great to be here with you all today. Please bear with me. I am losing my voice, so I'm going to do my best. The Declaration on Women's Sex-Based Rights, which WDI USA seeks to promote throughout U.S. law and policy, reaffirms women and girls' sex-based rights and challenges the discrimination we experience from the replacement of the category of sex with that of so-called gender identity. WDI USA is a nonpartisan organization. We are Democrats, Republicans, Independents, and Greens. Speaking solely for myself, I am honored to stand here as a lifelong Democrat to say that I care deeply about maintaining women's and girls' sports for women and girls. Article 7 of the Declaration reaffirms women's rights to the same opportunities as men to participate actively in sports and physical education. Its terms and mandate could not be more clear. Governments must include opportunities for girls and women to participate in sports and physical education on a single-sex basis. Anything else is a form of sex discrimination. But what is this mysterious category of people we are talking about when we say women and girls? The question, what is a woman, recently the title of a popular documentary, as we all know, was also the title of Chapter 1 of my book, The Abolition of Sex, How the, quote, transgender agenda harms women and girls. Thank you, Jennifer. It will surprise no one to hear that I conclude that chapter by stating, as we all know, a woman is an adult human female. In the introduction to the book, I say this: here is the truth we cannot speak. Gender identity does not exist in any real material sense, and transgender is simply a made-up concept that is used to justify all kinds of atrocities. It is, in effect, a men's rights movement intended to objectify women's bodies and erase us as a class. It is left-wing misogyny on steroids. I say this as a leftist and a Democrat. I think it's really important that we don't lose sight of that when considering compromises that threaten both the rights, privacy, and safety of women and girls and the material reality of sex. The simple reality is that women are female and men are male. It's not complicated. Thank you so much for having me here today. Let's take back Title IX.
This is my fight song. Take back my life song. Prove I'm alright song.
So old school feminists from mine and Kara's generation remember that there was a book called Our Bodies, Ourselves. And this book actually graced my mother's bookshelf for a long time. I was raised by a strong feminist. But one thing that book really understood is that men's bodies and women's bodies are different. And that is why we want our bodies, our sports. Our bodies. Our bodies. Our bodies. Our bodies. Our bodies. Our next speaker is another member from the leftward side of the spectrum, a Democratic candidate for Congress in New York City, a parent advocate who is not afraid to stand up for girls and women in sports. Please join me in welcoming Maud Marin.
Thank you so much for being here. It is so inspiring to stand with an amazing group of women who have all come out to stand up for girls and women's sports, and to stand up for girls and women in general, really. As Jennifer said, my name is Maud Marin. I'm a New Yorker. I'm a mom of 4 kids. I have 3 sons and a daughter, all of whom play sports, but on different teams because that's how it should be. I'm running for Congress because we need to have a little bit of common sense in our politics, and in our Congress and in our politics in general, particularly when it comes to protecting girls and women's sports. This is not a partisan issue. There are Democrats and Republicans and independents all across the political spectrum that agree with all of us here on the common sense definitions of sex and understand that our kids have the right to a non-politicized joy of playing sports on teams that make sense. What I wanted to talk to you all about very briefly is what happens when you speak up and people disagree with you, right? I know what it's like to be attacked for speaking up and saying simple truths out loud when people don't agree with you. We get a lot of attacks, right? The ad hominems and the insults. Instead of people saying, hey, I have a different idea, let's talk about it, we get called names, we get nasty articles written about us. So these are my simple truths. Sports should be single sex. Males have advantages over females in sports, right? Trans people can and should participate in sports for their sex category, which is real, and not their gender identity, which is invented. I have talked to reasonable, good-hearted people who have different opinions about these issues, and I have no problem listening to their thoughts and ideas about it, and they need to listen to us. They are calling you names, and they are attacking you when you speak these simple truths because they want you to go away. Our challenge right now, the job we all share, is to not go away. The time is right now to stand up for Title IX. And in fact, the Biden administration released today the fact that they are trying to change Title IX, something we all knew was going to happen. But I'm glad I heard the news here while I was standing with this amazing group of people because we have a battle on our hands and we're going to have to come together to fight that battle. Our job is to not go away, to stand up for women and girls. And I'm so thrilled to be standing with all the amazing women who have spoken today and who are yet to come. Thank you all.
How could I forget to mention the bicycle? is a good invention. Sitting there in a silent movie beside the only girl who really.
All right, give it up for Maud. Maud, thanks so much. I want to tell you guys, last year, Independent Women's Forum had the great pleasure of holding a fly-in, bringing in athletes, female athletes from across the country. We had them meet with numerous, over 24 members of Congress, both in the House and the Senate, to really talk about the risk and what's at stake if we allow males to compete in female athletics. And let me tell you, the risks are great. You've heard about numerous of them today. One of those female athletes is here today. She came all the way out from Oregon, and her name is Inga Thompson. Let me tell you really quickly about Inga. She's an impressive woman as well. She's a 3-time Olympic cyclist. Give it up. And let me tell you, Inga knows firsthand the advantages of Title IX and what it provides. She was competing in cycling back before there were separate women's cycling teams, which means she was in dead heats with male cyclists. Help me welcome 3-time Olympic cyclist Inga Thompson to the stage.
Don't stop believing. Hold on to that feeling. Street life.
Wow, this is absolutely wonderful to see this outline of support. It really warms the bottom of my heart. Thank you. This has been a tough journey. And part of my story is when I started, I was that odd little kid that I wanted to ride motorcycles, I wanted tractors, I wanted horses, I like old trucks, and I still do. I was that odd child. And growing up, it was like, and I also wanted to be the best in the world, and I wanted to do it in sports, and I wanted to do it in running. And my mom had to break it to me that we don't have sports for girls. And she told me the really sad story about how she was a ski racer, and sometimes she'd get in there with the guys and she kind of slip in and then get kicked out of the event. And so she had to do, she had tears in her eyes telling me, you can't because you're a girl. And in 72, 50 years ago, Title IX was passed. And I got into high school, I'm dating myself, and we had some events. And I got to compete. And had it not been for Title IX, I never would have had any opportunities. And then I got to go on to the Olympics. Yay, great. But what I saw was all of the young women around me and how they thrived. Did they get to go to the Olympics? No. But their self-worth, how they felt about themselves. So many came from abused homes and difficult places. And this is where the girls got to bond and how they got together. And several of these women actually did go on to the Olympics in different sports. But this is the basis of elite women's sports, is the grassroots sports. It's Title IX. And this isn't the first fight that I've been in for women. When I make it to the elite level, I still remember being at the World Championships in 1990 and having the head of the International Cycling Union coming to me and stating, we're going to be setting forth a new policy that when you're menstruating, you're not going to be able to race. And my jaw was on the ground. And I looked at him and I said, how are you going to regulate this? How are you're really going to you're going to regulate my menstrual cycle? Let's see, Tour de France, 3-week stage race. I think you're going to take out the whole field. And I said, are you going to do panty check beforehand? And I promise my uterus will not fall out. That is what the saddle is for on the bicycle. And I said that I will be at this legislation and I will fight you tooth and nail. And I said this to the whole leadership of the International Cycling Union. And you know what? That policy never came up for discussion. And we're not over with this fight. We will take back this sport, or women's sports, one sport at a time. The women are rallying. We are coming together in forces like I've never seen. Like I never, the first board that I got kicked off for speaking up about this. What an honor to get kicked off that board because it allowed me to speak. And thank you for coming together. We are exponentially growing, and it takes people like you. Thank you.
Up next, everybody, I get to bring up Lauren Levy. She's a lesbian rights activist who played basketball before Congress passed Title IX. She's been battling long on these issues. She currently serves as vice president of Women's Declaration International USA. Welcome, Lauren. Come on up.
A woman's lover, I'm another woman's mom. I'm a woman's daughter naturally. And if ever
I'm Lauren Levy, Democrat, radical feminist, lesbian. I played basketball for a large high school a decade before Title IX. They were good moments, but they were embedded in a matrix of humiliation. Girls' basketball had special rules. Mainly, we were restricted to playing on half the court. I never got a good explanation for why that was happening. Was it unbecoming for a lady to run the length of the court? Was it presumed we'd be playing in high heels? Or was the whole point to signal over and over to one and all that girls' sports are boring and pointless? It's true that our games didn't draw many spectators or reporters or college recruiters. There were other indications of low status too. The boys' team had shiny satin shorts and tank tops in the school colors, while we played in ridiculous bloomers and faded generic Dickies. The most upscale sports uniforms for girls were worn by the cheerleaders. Teensy little skirts and pom-poms and big smiles to cheer the boys. Even so, cheerleaders were not rewarded with scholarships. Unsurprisingly, my high school class failed to produce even one post-high school female athletic star. But my experience did have value. I learned stuff firsthand. Humiliation, sex discrimination, and that you'd best stick to supportive roles. Because if you aim to be the main event, you will be humiliated. A few years later, I met some other furious young women. We called for women's liberation. In 1972, Title IX changed women's sports. It was as dramatic as any other success of the wildly successful women's liberation movement. I'm telling you, we are not going back to a presumption that only male athletes count. We will not accept that men's inclusion in women's sports trumps fairness. That is just the current excuse for the timeless, sexless, sexist practice of humiliating us and for effectively excluding us again from competitive sports. I'm telling you that injustice and that insult will not stand. Thank you all so much for being here.
The next two women are strong individuals who have witnessed the threat to women's sports firsthand. Please welcome Chloe Satterfield, who lost to a male tennis player in high school, and Chloe will be followed by Macy Petty, a volleyball player from Lee University.
Hey, everybody. Gotta bring the mic down because I'm short. My name is Chloe Satterfield. I am an undergraduate student, a former student athlete, and an ambassador for Young Women for America. I am also a biological female and a former 4-year high school varsity tennis player. And I can personally attest to the physical advantages that men have over women when it comes to athletics. Not only did I train with young men my entire life in tennis, but in high school, I competed against a freshman male athlete who identified as a female. And even though I had gone through years and years and years of expensive coaching and performance training, I lost. And not because this athlete had a better strategy or because they had trained for longer than I had, but because of their inherent biological speed, strength, and stamina. The playing field, or court in my case, was uneven and I was the clear loser. And I chose not to hold on to this loss very long, but I can tell you for sure that the collegiate and professional athletes who are forced by the NCAA to compete against biological males cannot say the same. Well, how do I know this? Because I watched the friends and family of female athletes that were forced to compete and lost to Leah Thomas, a biological male, in the recent NCAA championships that were held at my school, walk out of our campus facility teary-eyed, frustrated, and disheartened. It was heartbreaking, truly, truly heartbreaking. They watched their daughters' years and years of work tossed aside, just as mine was, as they fell behind someone who had an inherent and unfair advantage. We all know, even our friends over there know, that male athletes have an overall higher muscle mass, less body fat, longer and larger bones, and a higher oxygen carrying capacity than we females do. Men also have a greater aerobic advantage due to their higher number of red blood cells and have an advantage in throwing, kicking, and hitting due to their more flexible and less fragile ligaments. Male athletes have consistently shown to be 10% faster in running and swimming due to their higher muscle mass and body weight ratio, which allows for greater speed and acceleration than women. And we hear a lot about these extensive treatments that they can undergo to change these characteristics. But we all know that there are legacy effects or unchangeable things that will give them an advantage for years to come. Therefore, I think we can all see why any biological male competing in our female sports competitions is unfair, regardless of their attempts to become more feminine. And a lot of people are going to tell you that that's hateful, and you can't say that, but that's objective truth, and we cannot change it. We women have come so far in the past 100 years, and I'm so grateful for the women that went before me to fight for my rights. And Title IX was a significant turning point for us, which increased our athletic, scholastic, and financial opportunities. But here we stand on the 50th anniversary of Title IX, having to fight for our rights all over again. I think about my future daughter and what she might have to go through if we don't fight right now for these protections. And it is so incredibly difficult for me to understand why the same people who cry out in the name of women's equality are trying to drag us backwards 50 years by letting men compete in our female athletic competitions. And now the current administration is threatening to trample our rights and our future daughters' futures as successful scholars and athletes by removing our Title IX protections, which is intended to provide a level playing field. Common sense tells us that female sports should be for girls only. And as an ambassador for Young Women for America, I stand here on behalf of thousands of women and girls across this nation. And we are asking you all today to stand up for our rights and defend the integrity of women's sports. Thank you.
What's up, everybody? Good afternoon. My name is Macy Petty, and I'm a current NCAA volleyball player on scholarship. I also am a Young Women for America ambassador. Yeah. Today, we are gathered here to celebrate 50 years of Title IX. 50 years of opportunities for women that include, yes, sports, but also college admissions, scholarships, academic majors, careers, and more. Our celebration is tempered by the sobering reality that we are not only celebrating, but also fighting for the integrity of Title IX and to maintain these rights. I know some people think that saying save women's sports is an exaggeration, as if women's sports aren't truly at risk. Well, as a college volleyball player who has had firsthand experiences, let me be very clear to you. women's sports are at risk of disappearing. Since elementary school, I've played volleyball, and I absolutely love it. But it hasn't always been easy. I remember as a kid, I would sit outside for hours learning how to overhand serve. Now in college, I endure conditioning tests and extreme weight and speed training, and doing everything that I possibly can to increase my vertical another inch. This means running, lifting, even eating right to fuel my body correctly. In the rules of volleyball, the standard men's net is 7 inches higher than a female's net. This height difference has nothing to do with personality, sexuality, identity, or anything other than biological facts. Men are born naturally more athletic, and their sports reflect this. If you've ever played volleyball, you know how significant a 1-inch decrease in net height can be. It's an absolute game changer. But in high school, I played against a biological male on the volleyball court. I had college recruiters from all over watching this athlete slam the ball in my face. The biological male was playing on a net 7 inches shorter than the athlete should have been as a man. I've also witnessed men steal the roster spots and scholarships on women's collegiate teams. I am very grateful for the opportunities that I have today. I'm grateful for the women who fought 50 years ago for our right as women to play on a fair playing ground against other women. Those brave women 50 years ago fought for me and my generation. But now it's our turn. It's our turn to fight for tomorrow's girls who also seek a fair playing field. Our government has fallen short. They have elevated feelings over reality, and it is women and girls who are the losers. As an ambassador for Young Women for America, I stand alongside hundreds of other girls across the country who will not be silenced on this issue. Girls' sports are for girls only. My fellow female athletes, we must use our voices to protect the future of girls' sports. If we do not, our daughters and future generations will never know the life-changing opportunities that come from girls' sports. If feelings are allowed to dictate which team an individual plays on, the protection that women fought for will ultimately dissolve. The fight that has given you and me so many opportunities to learn and grow through sports will suddenly mean nothing anymore, and girls' sports will, in fact, disappear. Thank you.
Well, the years start coming and they don't stop coming. Back to the rules and I hit the ground running. Didn't make sense not to live for fun. Your brain gets smart, but your head gets dumb. So much to do.
It's my great pleasure now to introduce to you 2 amazing women who have come together and founded a new organization to help female athletes find resources and support. Their organization, the Independent Council on Women's Sports, or ICONS, is holding their inaugural conference next week in Las Vegas. And you can learn more about them at iconswomen.com. First up is Kim Jones, a former Division I All-American tennis player whose daughter was forced to swim against Leah Thomas last year. Kim is an advocate for women and girls. She will be followed by her ICONS co-founder, Marcy Smith, a former NCAA swim champion, World Cup bronze medalist, and a true shark in the water. Come on up, Kim.
This is for all you girls about 13. High school can be so rough.
Hi. Glad to be here and share a glimpse of what last year's season was like in the Ivy League. A female champion, a female athlete, is a symbol of power and a source of strength to 51% of the world. Alongside a female leader in business or politics, a female athlete is a chance for women to see their potential, to know that they are worthy of reward and recognition. To participate in women's sports is to participate in the empowerment of women until those in charge silence women and strip away the very principles that allow sport to be empowering. This last year, I saw firsthand the damage that occurs when we blur the definition of woman as I watched my daughter and other female collegiate swimmers face Leah Thomas, the first male swimmer in women's NCAA swimming. I saw previously empowered young women fade in strength and confidence. I watched in dismay as these young women were gaslighted, shamed, and told to seek counseling because they tried to point out discrimination. I saw tears, frustration, silence, lost records, and lost opportunities. I saw shocked young women question whether they had the right to undress out of the sight of male eyes and male nudity in locker rooms. I heard the stories of locker rooms, usually excited, filled with excited chatter and celebratory, going eerily silent. I watched mothers in stands crumple over in tears and fathers that could not bear to watch. What I witnessed was nothing short of emotional blackmail and abuse. The publicity around Leah Thomas forced responses and provided an opportunity to show leadership, to defend the fair treatment of women. Instead, we witnessed the casual manner in which women were tossed aside and silenced. Fair treatment and easy trade for power. Robin Harris of the Ivy League and Mark Emmert of the NCAA delivered blow after blow to women all year long. I know the stories. I have the documents. I was there for much of this. Mandatory meetings asking the young women to be silent and clear their words with department leadership if they wanted to speak. Handouts telling the Ivy League swimmers to let the men in charge determine their fate and accept it without complaint. Messages sent over email to seek counseling if you as a young woman don't want to undress in front of a man. Announcements at every dual meet threatening compliance or being labeled hateful if you believe women should not have to compare their physical bodies next to those of males. Is this what we want? Is this the future we want for our daughters? Is this what we send them to college for? To learn subjugation and silence in the face of discrimination from those who were set up to protect and encourage them to find their value and passions in life. This is not the world I want for my daughter. It is not the world that women and girls deserve. Over this last year, I've become aware of how prevalent these rules are that view women as less worthy than our male counterparts. And I now know how little the leaders in the NCAA and the Ivy League think of women. I know we cannot depend on legislation like Title IX alone to protect us. And I know that presently, the ACLU, the Women's Sports Foundation, and the National Women's Law Center no longer defend women. On the other hand, it has been strengthening to learn of the vast and overwhelming support from the majority of people who believe women do deserve respect and fair opportunity. I have met so many brave women speaking up and organizations recognizing the value of women in society. Until now, women did not have a collective voice in sports to promote and protect female athletes, to defend them in difficult situations and provide access to opportunities beyond the sports field. Women need this collective voice to be in control of their own destiny and to have our hand in writing the rules and regulations that govern our sports. I am proud of the women that came before me to open up opportunities I was able to take advantage of. And I know young women to come need to be able to fulfill the promise of Title IX and the potential still waiting in women's sports. It is in this vein that I have connected with Marcy Smith to found a new organization that will deliver on these promises. Alongside so many Olympians, legends of sport, world champions, and leaders in sports, law, and science, we are excited to announce Icons, the Independent Council on Women's Sport.
Thank you so much for coming. I am so happy to be in my hometown of DC. I actually learned to swim and swam my very first race here at 6 years old, just 13 miles from this spot at Canterbury Woods Pool in Annandale, Virginia. It's good to be back. After hundreds of hours of training and competition and help from Title IX, I earned a full swimming scholarship to the University of Arizona, where I won, thank you, where I won a Pac-10 and NCAA championship title in the 100-yard backstroke. This year, as I watched the same swim meet that was one of the highlights of my life turned into an international spectacle, I was next to my own 6-year-old daughter. I was anguished, realizing she may actually have fewer opportunities to succeed in sport than I did. I was not the only one feeling this way, I quickly found out. My Arizona teammates, my best friends, the women who became my sisters years ago, started texting and calling. My teammate Carly asked if I'd write a letter, a collaborative letter, on behalf of the U of A's swim alumni to collectively sign, because then surely the NCAA would hear us. We have 47 signatures from just one sport, from one university, which includes American record holders, NCAA Women of the Year, Olympic gold and silver medalists, NCAA champions, Sports Hall of Famers, a 5-time Olympic coach, a 6-time NCAA Coach of the Year on the men's and women's side, and dozens of NCAA All-Americans. In the 91 days since sending our letter to the NCAA entitled, "Do We Have a Voice?" there has been zero response. I'm here today on stage in our nation's capital to tell them we do have a voice. And it's not granted to us from our schools or our jobs or from our government. It comes from us. After today, many of us will be in Las Vegas starting Sunday for the inaugural Icons Women's Sports Conference, because we are taking Women's Sports Week from coast to coast. Join this team as our voices continue to grow together. Have courage. Athletes, mothers, grandmothers, women working in the athletic departments, and board members today, have courage. Just one person can start the ripple that creates the wave that turns into the tsunami for change. I want you girls to hold up the W. Hold it up. This stands for women. Women will win again. We will win again. Thank you.
You gotta fight for your right to party.
Thank you, Marcy. Marcy got me. She got me. Yo, one of the great things about this issue is that it brings together strong women from both sides of the political aisle. And now we're about to go from one end to the other, back to back. Our next two speakers show what a truly powerful coalition this is. Penny Young Nance is president of the Concerned Women for America, a leading conservative grassroots women's organization. And in the other corner, we have Amanda Howdeshell. She is volunteer member and events manager at Women's Liberation Front, a radical feminist group that works to abolish male violence and regressive gender roles. Let's welcome women's advocates from both the left and the right. Penny, followed by Amanda. Come on up, ladies.
American woman.
Good afternoon. Oh my gosh, I've always wanted to walk out to that song. Thank you all so much for being here. You know, it is really in a time in our country when there's disunity everywhere we look. Let's recognize a moment where we have the left and the right united in the idea that we are here to protect women. I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be here with my sisters on the left and my sisters on the right. You know, as a person of faith, as a conservative woman, I am so sick of the people who call us science deniers, denying that there's any difference between men and women, right? Denying that there is over 6,500 genetic differences between men and women. Denying that our DNA, our sex is stamped down to the cellular level in our bodies. Denying that it's unfair for a 6'1" man with a bigger heart, bigger lungs, bigger bones, better oxygenated blood to compete against a woman who's 5'2". I mean, it makes no sense at all. Instead, they say that there's at least, because this number changes every day, 72 different genders, right? Even some that you can be a cat or a dog or a fox, that it doesn't matter. And we must suspend disbelief. We have to play along. Because if we don't, they call us bigots. They deny that women that are in women's prisons, that are in domestic violence shelters, have a right to a safe place. They deny that women have a right to our safe spaces, to our locker rooms, to our bathrooms, to places to nurse our babies. They deny us that right. Where is all the women? Every single woman in America should be standing with us. All the rights they fought for decades, for 50 years, is becoming undone by a rogue group. And it's time for us all to stand together. So I will close with this. I've already said I'm a woman of faith. I gladly don the mantra of a church lady. But it is recorded in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and Luke that it is better than a millstone be hung around a man's neck and he be drowned in the sea than to cause one of these little ones to stumble. How dare they? We are standing for faith. We are standing for women, and we stand together. Thank you, everyone. God bless you.
You wish you could do it like a girl, do it like a woman, counting our money, then praising a child. Do it like a girl.
Amanda Howdershell, and I am here representing the Women's Liberation Front, a national radical feminist nonprofit that works to protect the sex-based rights of women and girls. Title IX is essential to these rights, including the right to compete in sports without the unfairness and even danger of competing against boys and men. We will not be silent when so-called inclusive policies are created on the backs of women and girls. This is not inclusion. This is misogyny. Women fought hard for the protections of Title IX, the promise of equal opportunity. We fought to be believed when we were denied that opportunity, assaulted by friends, teachers, coaches, doctors. We are used to being told that we must lose out on opportunities because of male desires. Only this time we're called bigots when we disagree. But this is not progress. This is misogyny. 39 women will stand on this stage today telling their stories of pain and loss despite the retaliation and threats that we will likely receive. What these brave women and girls have said here is uncontroversial to the majority of Americans, but a powerful minority decided long ago that boys' feelings matter more than girls' safety. This is misogyny. I am here today to share the voices of thousands of silenced women, feminists across every state, status, and generation who demand our government uphold Title IX and enact the Women's Bill of Rights. Join me in the fight to protect our sports, our locker rooms, our prisons, our domestic violence shelters, our rape crisis centers. Join me in unapologetically saying, our bodies, our bodies, our bodies. Thank you.
Wow, that was powerful. Our next speaker knows how to pack a punch. That's because she's a Taekwondo instructor and master and a coach in Maryland. Her name is Julia Chang, and she's also a proud mom of 3 who is worried about what will happen to her sport if the guidelines based on sex, age, and weight are removed. Please welcome to the stage, Julia.
Hi, thank you. I'm Julia Chang, mom of 3, Taekwondo master, coach, and former athlete. As a former athlete and now coach in the Olympic sport of Taekwondo, I'd like to share more about what Taekwondo is and also share my experiences. Taekwondo is a Korean martial art that's taught in nearly 200 countries to over 70 million people across the world. And it's an ancient art form that is over 2,000 years old. It's widely taught to build discipline, focus, self-defense, not to mention a great way to stay in shape. Now, there's several events an athlete may participate in. Forms, which are patterns that you memorize, board breaking, and sparring. Sparring is the event that is in the Summer Olympics, so that's what I'm going to focus on here. It's a free fighting combat sport using kicks and punches to the body, face, and head. Traditionally, the athlete with the most points in a certain amount of time frame wins. Brackets are organized by several categories: age, belt level, weight, and sex. The day before the competition, there are weigh-ins. If you do not make applied weight, you can be disqualified from the event. And at the local level, you can be moved to your new division. And the reason for this is solely based on safety and fairness. The goal of a sparring match is to land as many kicks and punches on the opponent to win. Now, while the goal is to win, as a coach and my husband, who is a former member of Team USA, also a coach, will firmly agree that our number one priority is always the safety of our athletes. In a sparring match, it's imperative that the coach and athlete are one. The coach sees what the athlete may not and gives direction. In the best case scenario, my athlete has faster and stronger kicks and can beautifully execute strategic kicks like the jumping back kick. In the worst case scenario, my athlete's skill levels are far less than the opponent, and there are few safety measures put in place to protect my athletes in that scenario. For instance, a point gap. Let's say the scoreboard has a point gap of 12 points. The match automatically stops and the winner's called after the second of 3 rounds. We want to preserve athlete morale and ensure the safety of the athlete. If in round 1, I see the opponent is significantly more skilled with faster and stronger kicks, and I see my athlete, for lack of a better word, being pummeled, I will throw in the towel and forfeit the match. And why? Why would I do that? 3 words: safety, safety, safety. I might get yelled at by the parents in the back, but I don't care because I care about the safety. Now listen, my main goal today is to share an inside look of what it's like in this sport and how guidelines, divisions, rules, and brackets are in place for the safety and fairness of all Taekwondo athletes and to preserve the integrity of the sport. I'm here today to do my part so my daughter and my athletes never have to be placed in a situation where their safety is at risk. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Up next, we have Dee Dee Bass-Wilbin. She is a mom, a podcaster, a writer. We have a lot in common, and she's something that I want to be someday, which is a lax mom. She was a lacrosse mom. She's going to come up and tell us a little bit about her experiences. Come on up, Dee Dee.
Step up, backstand, still matter of fact, shout. Everywhere you look, you got a blessing on the way. Step up, backstand, still matter of fact, shout. Everywhere you look, you got a blessing on the way. Turn it out to the right, clap, clap, step up and watch God. Step back and watch God.
Hello, everyone. I am so excited to be here with you today. I am Dee Dee Bass-Wilbin, and I am the mom of a lacrosse goalie. She is a female lacrosse goalie, and she is super bad, let me tell you. I had no idea when my daughter started playing lacrosse in the 4th grade exactly what lacrosse would mean for her and her confidence and just being and building her up into an amazing young woman. When she plays goalie, she absolutely terrifies me because she is standing in that goal all on her own. When I watch her playing goalie, I see it teaching her an important life lesson. She plays always, and she plays and supports. And while she's playing, she's always has her family and friends cheering her on, me in the stands being the loudest one, her Aunt Zuzu being a close second. And she has her teammates and co-workers working towards a common goal. But at the end of the day, my daughter is standing and facing down the balls that come her way all on her own. Sometimes she will win, and sometimes she will lose. And what I really love about lacrosse and her experience is that it's teaching her what it means to win well and lose well. Over 30 years ago, I played sports in high school. I was not destined to be a star athlete, unfortunately, but playing sports taught me what it meant to work as a team. Playing sports taught me to win well and lose well. My daughter is a fierce goalie, you guys. She actually does have the ability to play at an elite level. But as incredible, awesome, and fierce as she is, I've seen boys play lacrosse. I am floored by the difference in their strength and speed of play. As incredible as my daughter is, the average boy playing lacrosse is 10 times faster and stronger. If she had to compete against boys for a spot on her team, it would be totally unfair. So I'm proud to stand here to say, keep women's sports female. Yes. Because I know that if we compromise on Title IX, what it would mean by ending girls' sports. I am here today to fight and maintain equal opportunity for my daughter and your daughters.
the same way a half century ago women stood in the gap for me of keeping sports female. Thank you so much.
We weren't born to follow. Come on and get up off your knees.
All right. Our next speakers are no strangers to standing up for what they believe and working hard for what they want. As a little girl, Mary Zock wanted to play basketball in the NBA. In 1995, there was no WNBA, and it did not exist. Mary went on to play as a member of the University of Notre Dame's women's basketball team as a walk-on. That is very impressive, let me tell you, and it's a big achievement. That year, they were the NCAA National Championship runner-up team. And Captain Maureen Bannon is a former West Point cadet, volleyball player, a Patriot League Rookie of the Year, and All-Star. During her senior season, she helped guide the women's volleyball team to their first ever NCAA tournament appearance. Well, we're going to hear from Mary, followed by Maureen. Let's welcome them, ladies.
I was the end of the bench. I was the hype girl. So let's get it up for women's sports. Woo! I am not like most of the athletes you heard from today. I'm not an Olympic medalist or scholarships player. I didn't make an All-American status. I was the girl in the last seat on the bench. The girl who only got in when you were up by 20 points with 2 minutes left. That's me. When I made the team at the University of Notre Dame, that year, that season was a fairy tale. The first game was on my birthday. The last game was the national championship. Along the way, we received emails from members of Notre Dame's first graduating class of women, back when the women's sports uniforms were the discarded men's uniforms. One email said, "We've come a long way since those first years of Title IX. You are living proof." Because of Title IX, 10 times the number of female athletes play sports, each of them learning life lessons like how to work hard, how to win and lose graciously, and how to lead a team. But this past year's swim championships taught different lessons. They taught that redefining sex meant that one woman had to settle for a silver because a man took the gold. They taught that truth and fairness do not matter. And they taught that the last seat on the bench, the seat that belongs to the girl with heart, the girl who tried again and again and failed and finally succeeded, they taught that that seat can be taken by a man. Every time a man plays women's sports, no matter who receives a medal, at least one woman loses. The one who doesn't compete and instead watches from the stands. Keep women's sports women. The girl who's at the end of the bench matters. Go Irish!
Hope everyone is having a great time here today. So some of you might know me from my time on the War Room, but what you might not know, even though they introduced me, was that I was a Division I athlete. I started playing volleyball in the 4th grade and ended up being recruited to play volleyball for the United States Military Academy at West Point. Playing volleyball at a D1 school was a dream of mine from the moment I stepped on the court all those years ago. Studies have shown that girls who are physically active perceive their academic and athletic ability in a better light. Throughout my years of playing, a sense of confidence was instilled in me that would not have existed had female sports not existed. Playing sports growing up helps girls develop leadership skills that in turn help them in their professional lives. I learned leadership skills that not only helped me lead West Point to their first ever NCAA appearance in 2009, but also helped me to become an outstanding Army officer and then CEO of the War Room. Had I not had the opportunity to play sports growing up, I never would have developed those skills that allowed all of those things to happen. Sports also allow girls to have a core group that know exactly what each other are going through. Women's volleyball first started at the academy in 1976 when the first class was admitted. While we all did not play together, we all had that sense of community and know exactly what the other one went through during their time in the academy, even though our specific experiences at the academy were different. Our country is at war for our girls. There is no time to sit on the sidelines and let someone else fight this battle. We cannot stay silent. The time is now to step up and protect our daughters, our granddaughters, sisters, nieces. If we don't make this a political priority, our politicians will quickly cave to the robust corporate pressures, the radical ideologies, and political ambitions, while our girls will lose all protections in the public sphere and be made to believe that they do not matter. We cannot stop fighting for our girls. They do matter. Protect women's sports. And it's our bodies, our sports. Our bodies. Our bodies.
All right, our next guests are powerful advocates for American values and families. We'll hear first from Meg Kilgannon, Senior Fellow at the Family Research Council, followed by Annabelle Rutledge, National Director of Young Women for America, and Driana Sixto from Turning Point USA. Please first welcome Meg. Come on up.
Thank you all so much for being here. We at Family Research Council are proud to stand today to protect the rights of women and girls as we honor the 50th anniversary of Title IX. While we are willing to work with others to seek common ground, we remain committed to the simple truth that every child is born in exactly the right body. Policymakers in Washington and around the world must never compromise on that point. And they must not chase the false notion that expanding protection is somehow accomplished at the expense of others, especially women and girls. The Biden administration today gutted protections for women guaranteed in Title IX. They issued a rule that interprets on the basis of sex to include sexual orientation and gender identity. The effect of this will make a girl guilty of discrimination if she objects to undressing in front of a male who identifies as a female. This is a perversion of the protections guaranteed by Title IX. We're willing to celebrate incremental progress in returning women's sports competitions completely to women, but we will not stop until girls and women everywhere can be secure in their persons and dignity. Whether on the playing field, in a homeless shelter, or yes, even in prison, Women have a right to spaces for us and us alone. It is not possible for a child to be born in the wrong body. We must honor that truth by rejecting policies that reduce men and women to hormone levels or surgical procedures. It is not inclusive to accept the lie that treatments performed on prepubertal children are somehow affirmative care. The dignity of the human person demands a more loving and accepting standard. One that honors each of us as the unique and unrepeatable creation that we are. Because I will say it again, every child is born in exactly the right body. Thank you to Independent Women's Forum for hosting this event, and to all of you for being here as we celebrate this milestone. God bless you, and God bless America.
My name is Annabelle Rutledge, and I have a confession. I am not an athlete. My entire life, I have gone running on trails by myself because it just wasn't my cup of tea. But we know that what we're talking about today, this anniversary, has ramifications that go far beyond sports. We're talking about financial opportunities, scholastic opportunities, career opportunities for women. I'm the National Director of Young Women for America, and we have our girls up here in the front. While I'm not an athlete, I do have the privilege of working with women, young women across this country, and standing here as a voice for them. I get to work with women like Macy Petty and Chloe Satterfield. You heard from them already. They did an amazing job. Throughout this year, Young Women for America leaders like Macy and like Chloe have got to work. It is so important that we are all here today, but there's other work to be done. And young women across this country through YWA have picked up the mantle of the women who came before us and fought for Title IX 50 years ago. And they have spent the beginning of this year testifying in state legislatures across this country to ensure that girls' sports are for girls only. Today is the 50th anniversary of Title IX, and yet today, the Biden administration has proposed rule changes which have a disparate effect on women and are a direct attack on women. Now, Young Women for America leaders and conservative women across this country are kind, smart, courageous, bold, beautiful, and inclusive. But we have a president, we have a message for our Mr. President, and that is that we will not forsake our conviction, and we will not deny biological reality. We refuse to allow young women to be sacrificed on the altar of political correctness. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I repeat, ladies and gentlemen, just two. My name is Driana Sixto, and I am the field director for Turning Point Action. We are a 501c4 founded by Charlie Kirk in 2019. And Turning Point Action's primary work is to engage the conservative base by knocking on thousands of doors for congressional candidates in battleground states, endorsing strong constitutional conservatives and at the federal level, and recruiting precinct chairs all over the country, especially in swing states. Today, we're here in celebration of Title IX's 50th anniversary and in support of keeping women's sports female. Fairness, that's it. That is all we are advocating for here. and equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome. Allowing biological men to compete in women's sports effectively eliminates equality of opportunity, which it has granted our girls for 50 years. A lot of politicians in DC are just disconnected with us and out of touch. I promise that any politician that advocates for men competing in women's sports either have never competitively played anything before, or they might have not been very good, and that's why they're just a little bit bitter and against this movement, right? Guys, women's sports are on the ballot. Women's rights are on the ballot. Common sense and the fact that men and women are biologically different are on the ballot. And so we need to jump into action and make sure that we work to elect leaders that represent us. Doors win wars. And we can't rely on social media to get this message out. Our own CEO, Charlie Kirk, had his Twitter account suspended for tweeting the factual statement that Richard Levine, the US Assistant Secretary for Health, is a man. So face-to-face conversations and grassroots activism is what is going to get the word out and create change. So let's all get a little bit of physical activity this summer, right? And walk for the policy changes that we want to see in our communities and in Washington, D.C. So visit tpaction.com to get started. Say it with me again, guys. Our bodies. Our bodies. Thank you so much.
We sure have come a long way, baby. A large majority of Americans agree with the ladies today on stage, and they want to see continued success and achievement for sport for girls and women. And they want to see it without the competition of males in the female divisions. And we will, but the fight has just begun. The fight has just begun because if the White House's new inclusive Title IX regulations go through, and I encourage you to go and make comments, make sure that this does not go through, more female athletes will suffer. This is backwards. Inclusion should never, ever come at the expense of women. And it should not come at the expense of data, science, and the cold, hard truth that male and female bodies are different. Our final speakers are both powerhouses who understand the power of truth. Azra Nomani is a former track and cross-country athlete and has a personal story about the importance of her athletic participation. Next, you'll hear from Eileen Sobjak, the national president of the National Federation of Women. All right, come on out, ladies.
We are the champions, setting it off again. Oh, we on fire.
So I want to ask you something. Can you imagine a place in this world where a girl could not feel the wind in her hair? Can you imagine if that was your reality? How would that make you feel? Would that make you feel bad? What about if there was a time when you wouldn't be allowed to feel the sun kiss your arms? Can you imagine what an injustice that would feel like? That was the reality of so many girls in my culture. I was a Muslim girl who came to America from India. I moved to West Virginia at the age of 10. And there was one thing that allowed me to find my stride in this world, and it was sports. It was running the hills of West Virginia. It was there that I got to know the sun on my arms, and I got to know the wind in my hair. I was told at one point that it was illegal in my religion to dare to wear shorts and tank tops. But I had a father who was a feminist. And my father took me to every track meet. He took me to every cross-country race. He warmed my hands in the rain when I would be freezing and shivering. In high school, I ran cross country, but guess what? It was 1980 and we didn't have a girls' team. So it would take 4 years on the boys' team, the junior varsity team, which is all we could qualify to do, to be able to get a letter. My last year, my right knee went out. I couldn't get that last 4th year. I never got my varsity letter. But I stand before you now because in life, we have all gotten that varsity letter if we stand up for girls and women. We all get it. We are all triumphant because after I ran those races, it empowered me. And that is what it does for every girl and every woman. And so my friend Dee Dee is going to come here and she's going to give me the varsity jacket that I have made. What is the letter? W, right? I can't make it. W for who are we? And what are we fighting for? Our bodies, our sports. W for women and girls. We are all strong. Thank you.
Whatever it takes, 'cause I love the adrenaline in my veins. I do whatever it takes, 'cause I love how it feels when I break the chains. Whatever it takes.
Hello, everyone. I'm Eileen Sobjack. I'm the president of the National Federation of Republican Women. We are a women's organization, 65,000 strong across the nation, and we care about women. I grew up in a time when there was minimal opportunity for women athletes. The girls' basketball team was intramural. While the guys competed with other schools, they gained plenty of practice and were seen by college scouts. Sports were funded for boys first and foremost. But today, because of Title IX, there's more opportunities for women to excel in sports. Both men and women have equal educational opportunities as well. That's why we can't allow sex discrimination ever again. I have a granddaughter that is one awesome fast pitch player and another who is a budding track star. I have a niece who plays college volleyball. I certainly don't want them competing with the boys. What I see happening today is going to take us backwards. Women deserve fairness in competition, and that means women competing against women. The women athletes here today are committed, and it's a travesty if all the time and effort they put forth means they must compete against men. Whatever happened to common sense? Women are strong, but they aren't men, and it's just unfair to make them compete with them. I lead an organization that promotes leadership and training for women. We understand the importance of recognizing our differences. We work hard to empower women to have an equal footing politically. I enjoy watching athletes compete, both men and women, but in their respective arenas. We all must rally against the direction women's sports is headed. We must keep what has been working for years. President Biden, I hope you are listening today. Let's support our women athletes. Let's have every state in the nation do what the 18 states have done. Our sports, our bodies, ours. Thank you.
Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no
Guys, it has been so special to be with you today and to talk about something that has been such a huge part of my life, and to stand here with so many women who aren't afraid to talk about it when people tell you you should be. The future is in our hands, guys, and we have to speak up. Here's a couple ways you can take action. I know, homework, whatever. You can write it down. Number one, contact the Department of Education and let them know that proposed Title IX changes hurt women. Number two, contact the NCAA and tell them it's not fair. Number three, contact your state athletic association and ask them to keep women's sports female. And finally, contact your member of Congress and ask them to pass the Protect Women in Sports Act, okay? Now, I want to bring every one of these amazing women who spoke that are still behind me to come on up on stage. Woo-hoo-hoo! Truly, the more courage these guys have to speak, the more courage they give the rest of us and so many young women. So I'm so thankful for them. Give them a huge round of applause. And also to Victoria Coley and Elizabeth too, who made, not to engage in harmful stereotypes, but got all these women here on time and across the stage and everything. Thank you, guys. Our bodies, our sport.